Alright, and welcome back everybody to Game 3 of HongUn.Prime versus Liquid.TLO series, tied up 1-1. And whoever wins this one is going to be moving on to the round of 16. And the map is going to be GSL Terminus Re, like I was saying before we got into this third match here. Terminus Re is definitely a map that favors the macro-oriented styles with a very easy to secure natural and third expansion. And it will come down a little bit to the positions on the map, and it's really tough to say what kind of styles we're going to see out of both these players. As the first game, we saw TLO make nothing but Marauders and a few Medevacs and some Ghosts, and the second game, we saw HongUn.Prime try to run a Gateway army into Sea Shanks on high ground. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen here in this third game.
Yeah, I hope HongUn, just pulls out something a little more interesting. Just moving that 4-gate up onto the high ground versus tanks, was pretty one-sided there. So I'm sure he was feeling a little confident from that first game. Maybe got a little bit nervous during that second game, but this third game should bring it all out, decide this series in a fashionable way.
Yeah, so I've got this next game loaded up. So why don't we get it started in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so warping in at our 6 o'clock base, we have HongUn.Prime here as our green Protoss. And at the 3 o'clock base, we have Liquid.TLO as our Cyan Terran. It's Cyan, right? I am a little bit colorblind, so I apologize if that's not actually the color it is.
You could call it Cyan, you could call it Teal, you could call it Light Blue. It's just semantics at that point. And TLO right now is actually doing something that I really find very interesting. As a map maker, it's actually really crucial to me because, of course, I spent hours and hours just fighting with mineral placements. You see some of the mineral patches here in this mineral line are a little bit farther away. We can see TLO is mashing right-click on his SCVs to make sure that he gets optimal saturation on the closer mineral patches first, as not really anything else to do at this point in the game. And you see right now this SCV might get transferred over to another mineral patch, as it is on the farther away mineral field. No, he's going to ignore it. So he was doing it a little bit earlier on. This is something you actually see take place a lot on the Korean server. MC is one of the players who really notably used it to gain a huge advantage in Protoss versus Protoss, as over time it lets him get a ton of income over his opponent, and I shouldn't say a ton, but a few, maybe 100 minerals extra over the course of a few minutes could completely change the game just for clicking your SCVs onto a different mineral patch. Here's another mineral patch that's a little bit farther away, and we see TLO has avoided mining that until he has nowhere else to put his SCVs.
Yeah, I mean, I saw during that early game, TLO was on average between 20 and 40 minerals per minute over his Protoss opponent. And when you consider that Protoss, of course, has the Chrono Boost to get out some more Harvesters a little bit quicker, it's a little bit substantial. I mean, of course, Protoss is pulled ahead now temporarily until the Mule is out. But it does give him that tiny little advantage. I would probably say, somewhere between 50 and 100 minerals that you might actually get extra there. And that can mean a difference. I mean, we've seen tons of games where, just 1 or 2 units end up making the difference in a battle.
Yeah, so Zephyr, aka HongUn.Prime, taking control of Zelnaga Tower here. Just keeping an idea of what might be moving out of his opponent's base at any particular point in time. TLO, meanwhile, is going to be doing the same opening that he did in the first game. Getting a quick Reaper out here, might be following this up with Stim as he nears the 100 gas mark. Meanwhile, looking back at the base of HongUn.Prime, you see the Cybernetics core is just about to finish up. And, of course, the Warp Gate research starting immediately, as it is so crucial for the Protoss players. I don't think I've seen a game in a very long time where the player just doesn't get Warp Gate at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting that he's actually chrono boosting that Warp Gate tech, because usually in this matchup in PvT, and he just dropped a second one on there, usually in PvT, you see the players try to chrono boost out their Nexus or possibly the units, unless they're going for a 4-gate, which, it's possible he's going for it. He just dropped 2 more gateways. Could just be a 3-gate expansion, but no, there's the 4th gate. So HongUn, after failing a 4-gate last game, is just going 4-gate again. And you know what? This Reaper is going to walk into the base. It might scout out those extra 2 Gateway's in the back. There's no Stalker here. It's way out of position. It's going to take out probes, and it does scout the 4 gates. So now he knows exactly what's going on right now. HongUn in a really terrible position. If you know a 4 gate's coming as Terran, you know, a top Terran like TLO is obviously going to be able to hold off a 4 gate. If you know what's coming, it helps so very much in your preparation. So HongUn allowing that 4 gate to get scouted, not doing anything about it, like canceling or changing his strategy or just using it for quick expansion, might be in a really bad position right here. And here comes another Reaper. Stalker yet again out of position, although warp gates are coming in just a moment, so we'll be able to warp in a Stalker. But, you know, just another little harassment. He's losing quite a bit of mining time right now, and he lost 2 probes there. Could have lost a 3rd if TLO had target fired correctly there. But still, I mean, HongUn does have that forward pylon set up. He does look like he's going to try to be aggressive here, but 2 bunkers up right now for TLO. As long as he gets some units in that second bunker, gets some SCVs to repair, I don't see how HongUn can break this.
He doesn't have any sentries right now and only has 1 gas. And of course, if you want to break this many bunkers, you need to have a ton of force fields. You need to be able to push those SCVs away from the bunkers and make sure those units, when they get out of those bunkers, have nowhere to run. And he just doesn't have that right now. So it looks like HongUn.Prime is going to try to run up the ramp right now, just gun it right past those bunkers. And he's going to make it quite far, but he's going to take a significant amount of damage in the meantime. TLO's going to take out the last of the Zealots in just a second, and the Zealots are what really are going to do the damage here. And the Stalker's getting surrounded, pushed into the corner there. TLO's going to be able to hold this initial wave of units off with relative ease. There's nothing to give HongUn.Prime vision of the high ground, nor actually any space here. I don't think you could actually fit a Zealot in that corner there, just because there shouldn't be any tiles left. TLO now is going to move out, pick off the remainder of these pylons, and secure his natural expansion. A few Stalkers right now are going to poke forward and use their range and mobility to try and do a little bit of damage to TLO. And in the meantime, he's just going to add on a second gas and continue pumping up probes. So the 4 warp gate rush has failed, but it's not all over yet for HongUn.Prime.
That's true, it's not, but, I mean, TLO got up that second orbital command during that fight, dropped down double mules on his main minerals, got himself about, you know, 150 to 200 minerals per minute more than his opponent on the exact same number of harvesters, so he got himself a bit of an economic advantage there, and since that orbital command is finished, at any point in time, he can just lift that, move it over to his natural, once he can take out those Stalkers, and get himself a really big advantage, whereas HongUn's just starting his Nexus right now. So TLO defended that pretty well. HongUn didn't do all that much damage. I don't know, probably took out a couple SCVs while they were attacking, and, you know, a bunch of Marines. But all in all, didn't do that much damage. And TLO's in a pretty good position. I just wish he would move his orbital command down there. I mean, there's only 3 Stalkers. He could pretty easily just unload those bunkers, salvage them, move forwards, and take that expansion, get himself a pretty big advantage.
I have to wonder if at this point TLO is just gearing up to go for a double drop, because at this point it might be what makes the most sense. He hasn't really been able to peek down his ramp and see what's going on down there, and for all he knows, there could be a ton of sentries, but no, TLO is just going to go for it with that stim and is going to blow through those 3 Stalkers. Well, like, they're absolutely nothing. Marines doing insane amounts of DPS. He's going to move up, take out that last pylon there with those Marines, and give the medevac some time to heal those Marines up from the damage they took from the stim and the earlier engagements that took place. And now he's going to start moving on through the rest of the map. And we take a look at the units tab right now, we see that there are only 3 sentries. For HongUn.Prime's going to warp in another sentry, another Zealot, and another Stalker to defend. But the Nexus has completed, and that means if he wants to defend this, he's going to have to work in a much wider area where force fields are not going to be as effective.
Yeah, he does have enough sentries to place enough force fields, but really only, you know, once will he be able to place a force field all the way across that natural choke. And here comes a bunch of these Marines. I feel like TLO doesn't have enough of an army right here to be moving forward. He's going to get caught by all these units. He needs to lift those all into the medevac and just get out of there. I mean, he is doing a lot of damage for the cost. He's actually taking out quite a large number of these Zealots. I'm actually completely wrong. With these reinforcements on the way, he's able to come take him out with these Marauders. If he hadn't brought those Marauders, he probably wouldn't have been able to win that. But, wow, I mean, what a anticlimactic ending. I feel like he just, Liquid.TLO just attack moves with like eight Marines, and HongUn just GG's. Doesn't even pull his probes to defend when there were only 3 Marines left at the end of the game. So I kind of feel like HongUn just like felt like he was in a worse position than he was, and just kind of gave up when he was actually not that far behind at all, considering TLO waited so long to drop his natural down there. So I don't know if HongUn was just operating under imperfect scouting and thought that that expansion would be up a lot earlier for TLO or what, but I feel like with probe defense, he could have really, really easily defended this. And actually, you know what? Two of his gateways are off. Two of his warp gates are off cooldown, and he has 400 minerals. So I'm really, really shocked that he GG'd that. I feel like that was really premature.
Yeah, but of course, as soon as you see Marauders in that matchup, you just know all hope has been lost. There are Fire Bears out on the field, and you're about to get punched in the face by a rocket paw. So just tap out, get out, call the GG. Fire Bears, no, just you can't beat them. They're Fire Bears. But in all seriousness, I have to agree with you. Despite the fact that he was 20 supply behind, I wouldn't have called that game completely over at that point in time. Although, maybe not the 4 warp gate was the mistake, but trying to run the gauntlet past 3 bunkers and then getting surrounded.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, if he had just taken that and just immediately expanded. I saw there was a moment during that time, after he got the 4 gate up, he had about 500 minerals, and he started to move forwards with his forward pylons, and he knew that TLO had already seen the 4 gate. So, I mean, why not just drop down in Nexus and use your 4 gate to just build a bunch of defensive units, I feel like. If your Terran opponent knows you're 4 gating, there's almost no use in trying unless you're at, like a platinum level or something where Terran players aren't going to know how to defend that, even with, I hope I'm not offending platinum players or anything, but, I feel like at this level, trying to go for a 4 gate after your opponent scouts it is just really, really, really risky.
Yeah, I mean, there was still a ton of options that HongUn had that game, and he just chose not to attempt to exhaust them. He could have used those 4 warp gates to try and set up a contain and delay the expansion of TLO for a really long time while teching up and getting his economy rolling. Just as one of many potential examples like you just went over. So that game definitely could have gone on a little bit longer or a little bit differently, but that's StarCraft. Sometimes just a little bit of misinformation and that will completely throw you off. I think HongUn, after making the mistake of running those units through the main base and having that completely shut down, was feeling a little bit mentally shooken and just not really feeling like he was able to take that game. So he threw out the GG, and that does mean that TLO will win the series 2-1 and move on to the round of 16. And next up, we're going to have MYM SAS, or SACE, I believe it's SAS. I've heard European commentators call him SAS. And he's going to be going up against the one and only Genius Terran, OGS Nada. So that is going to be taking place here on IC Cut TV. In just a few minutes, we're going to go for another short 5-minute intermission before we get this next game started. And we'll be right back. So stay tuned for that. Tell all your friends that MYM SAS, the Protoss player from Europe, is going to be going up against the one and only OGS Nada. Once again, you guys are watching the Gigabyte StarsWar Killer Tournament number 6 here on IC Cup TV. I am Prodigy, and with me is Orb, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. right, and we're back.
Cannot wait for this next game.
Yeah, it's gonna be 6, so I'm forgetting to hit the